Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Bacon. Welcome to the show, y'all. The funny thing about boundaries is this. Once you finally enforce one, everybody in the unit starts testing it just to see if you're going to wobble. Not always in big ways. Sometimes it's subtle, like where they stand when you're brushing your teeth, or whether they reach over your bunk without asking. Other times it's dumb stuff, like a dude trying to borrow your nail clippers without washing his hands first. See, once folks know you stood your ground with somebody you live with, they start wondering if they gotta respect you too. But I didn't raise my voice. Didn't do the tough guy routine. Didn't need to. All I did was keep my energy consistent, calm but edged, like a razor left on the table. And for a while, things settled. Tyrone was in his new cell, living his new version of respect. And I thought the whole thing would just fade into the background. One more prison story filed under lessons learned. But trouble don't fade that easy in here. Not when pride's involved, not when gossip got a longer reach than the COS word got to me about a week later. A youngster from C-Pod, lean kid named Javon, walked up while we were waiting to go to laundry. He leaned in real quiet, like he was passing me intel. "Joe," he said, "your old bunkie talking reckless." I didn't flinch. What'd he say? He say you soft. Say you made a big show about a toothbrush because you ain't want to admit you scared of him. I laughed, not loud, just enough to let the ridiculousness settle. "Scared?" I said. "You think I'd still be breathing in this place if I moved scared?" Javon shrugged. "I'm just relaying what's being said." Then he hesitated and he say something else too. I waited, didn't push. It didn't blink. He said if y'all ever got put back together, he'd show you what real disrespect looked like. That part didn't surprise me. Threats in prison float around like dust. Everybody breathes them in, but only a few ever settle long enough to mean anything. But the timing bothered me. Tyrone wasn't stupid. He knew who I knew. He knew the type of dudes who'd vouch for me. He knew running his mouth was a kind of gamble. And he never struck me as the gambling type. So I started paying closer attention not to him, to everyone else. Because sometimes the loud dude ain't the threat. It's the one who listens to him, nods, and decides to act on his behalf. And here, loyalty moves faster than logic. 2 days later during rec, I caught sight of Tyrone at the far end of the yard. He was talking to two dudes I didn't recognize, fresh transfers from another facility. One had a limp, other had a tattoo on his neck that looked like a broken arrow. They did that thing where they talk, then one of them glances at you, then they go back to talking. Like bad actors in a cheap movie, I didn't react, didn't stare back, and didn't puff my chest. I just clocked it, filed it away under possible upcoming storm. When rec ended, I walked back to the unit slow, like everything was normal. But my mind was running, not paranoid, not scared, just aware, in that extra silent way men get when they know somebody somewhere is building a plan. Inside, I sat on my bunk and did some thinking. Not about fighting him, not about revenge, not about making him pay. Those are emotional thoughts. Emotional thoughts get you stabbed. Strategic ones keep you alive. And strategically speaking, the real problem wasn't Tyrone. The problem was the principle. If I let someone use my name to get stripes, if I let him rewrite the story so he came out on top, then the next dude would try it. And the next. Prison is like a jungle with paperwork. You never let someone start painting you as prey. A couple days later, something unexpected happened. C.O. Keller, one of the old ones, thinning hair, gut that looked carved out of cafeteria cornbread, pulled me aside during count. "You Baker?" he asked. "I am." "You got a problem with your ex-cellie?" I shrugged. "Depends on what story you heard, C.O. He snorted. "I heard he'd been asking around about switching back into your room." My jaw tightened. Not enough for him to see. just enough for me to feel it. No, I said, that's not happening. That's what I figured, Keller said. Guy's been making noise. I don't like noise. Noise brings paperwork. Paperwork brings meetings. Meetings ruin my lunch hour. I nodded. Then we on the same page. Keller leaned in just a hair. You let me know if he keeps stirring the pot. I'll keep y'all separate. I don't need two grown men turning my unit into a soap opera. Fair enough, I said. I appreciate it. He walked off muttering something about inmates being worse than high schoolers, and I realized something right there. The universe had just given me a quiet lane to handle this without fire. But quiet lanes don't always last. Later that week, everything snapped. I was brushing my teeth at the sink, late night, most of the unit asleep, brushing with emphasis, because after what happened, I treated every hygiene routine like a ritual. Water running, bristles moving in circles, foam building, the mind drifting. Then the door to the unit popped, and in walked Tyrone, returning from medical or some late night shift detail. I don't know. I didn't care. He froze when he saw me. I kept brushing. He walked over slow, like he was gearing up for a conversation he'd been rehearsing. I ignored him. Finished rinsing and dried off the brush and put it back in my lockbox, and then I turned. What you want? He put his hands up like he was trying to look calm. Man, look, we ain't gotta be enemies forever. I almost laughed. The hell you talking about? You told the COS to move me, he said, and you've been talking about me, making me look weak. I didn't have to make you look weak, I said. You did that by sticking a man's toothbrush in a toilet. He stepped closer, too close. The kind of close that means somebody either wants an apology or a fist fight. But his voice, too shaky for a fight. Joe, he said, I ain't trying to beef no more. I'm just saying, people saying stuff that ain't true. What stuff? That you punked me, that I backed down from you, that I was scared. I stared at him long enough for him to fidget. You were scared, I said, and you should stay that way. Fear might be the only thing keeping you from doing something stupid again. His face twisted, not pure anger, embarrassment, shame mixed with ego, the most dangerous combination in a place full of men with nothing to lose. You know what? He finally said. Everybody was right. You think you better than us. No, I said. I think I know myself better than you know yourself. And that bothers you. He shook his head. You ain't worth the air you breathe. And yet, I said, but here you are trying to convince me of something. His fist balled, his breathing changed, and for 1 second, one tight, sharp second dash. I thought he was going to swing. Then the CO tower shouted out, Macklin, move it. Your cell ain't on this side no more. He flinched, stepped back, and walked away. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't, because humiliation is a disease in prison. And some folks infect themselves with it on purpose. Next morning, I woke up to whispers. 2 dudes at the tables talking low, glancing at me. A third pretending to read, but obviously listening. My new cellie Camden watching the room like he expected something. I sat upright. Didn't say nothing. Didn't move quick. Then Javon slid into the seat beside me. He didn't smile this time. I didn't joke. He said 3 words, watch your back. I nodded once, didn't ask questions. Sometimes the more you ask, the less people want to tell you. At rec later that day, it all came together. Tyrone wasn't just mad. He was recruiting. Trying to line up somebody to hit me. Maybe in the shower, maybe on the yard, maybe on the stairs. But the thing about living honest, even brutal honest, is that men respect it. Even the ones who don't like you. So dudes started warning me quietly, little whispers, like heads up and nods, throwing glances. And I realized something humbling. I had more allies than I thought. Not because they liked me, but because I didn't play fake. Men in here hate fake more than they hate violent. Tyrone, meanwhile, was burning his own bridges, trying to rouse support with lies, but lies only work when people don't know your track record. And his track record? Man was a walking contradiction. Loud, then quiet, tough, then timid, hyped, then humble. The kind of dude who always got something to prove, but never the backbone to prove it. 2 days later, Karma showed up in a blue uniform. COs hit his new cell with a search. Routine, they said, but nothing in prison is truly routine. They found contraband and not toothbrushes and not hygiene items, real contraband, enough to get him locked down. When they cuffed him, he made eye contact with me across the unit, and I swear, for the first time ever, I saw the truth land on him. He realized I hadn't done a thing. I didn't set him up. I didn't snitch. I didn't orchestrate the downfall he'd been trying to cause for me. He did it to himself. His paranoia, his pride, his refusal to swallow a mistake and move on. When they escorted him out, he walked past my cell slowly, paused, looked like he wanted to speak, say sorry, or say something human, and he did it. He kept walking, but that silence, man, that silence said everything. And the lesson stuck with me, deeper than anything else from that whole ordeal. People don't ruin you with the big betrayals. It's the little disrespect they bury under humor, the things they think don't matter, the small violations that show you who they truly are. A toothbrush in the toilet ain't about plastic, it's about mindset. It's about what a man is willing to do when he thinks nobody will find out. And the thing about disrespect, it don't stay small. It grows legs and teeth. And if you don't confront it early, it'll devour whatever piece you thought you built. Me, I let the universe handle him. You didn't raise a hand, didn't spread a rumor, didn't sabotage him. Sometimes the best revenge is watching someone trip on the floor. They swept themselves, the unit moved on, the whispers died down, new beef started, new alliances formed, new cellies rotated in and out. But every time I look at my toothbrush, tucked away in that property box, wrapped in tissue like it's something sacred, I remember exactly why I guard the smallest things like they're gold, because in prison they are. They're the last pieces of yourself nobody else can touch unless you let them. And that's one thing I ain't never letting happen again. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.